important is it for you to make an impact in this fight, being the history that you have with the organization?
Well, back when the Ultimate Fighter was first came out, I think there's probably maybe about 5 of you sitting out here. So, you know, now just take a look around and see what you know, the partners with Fox and the growth of the UFC. Back then there was only maybe 6 to 12 pay-per-views a year, and then they started the Ultimate Fight Nights. But yeah, the sport has changed in the past 5 to 10 years. It's crazy to see. As you guys can all see now, it's this place. There was no fans coming to the press conferences, and the weigh-ins were pretty busy, but not like we are now. So it's just a tremendous growth of how the sport has changed. And for me, fighting my 23rd time, this is the biggest fight of my career. I thought that Ultimate Fighter might have been the biggest fights of my career, but no, this is 10 times bigger than that. So I know what's at stake here. I know that I've been around for a long time, and I've had some good days and some bad days in this game, and that's part of being a mixed martial artist.
Obviously, the things that Dana calls the bells and whistles and the press conferences and all that have changed. But what about with more at stake for you guys as athletes? Has that changed the fights in any way?
I think it has. I mean, if you look at the last couple of cards, for example, the Diego Sanchez and Gilbert Melendez card, I think if there's a good chance that Diego could have been jobless after that if he didn't put on such a great fight. So it's same with me. My butt's on the line. When it comes Saturday night. I mean, my last performance wasn't great. The one before that was okay, but we got to come out and win. You got to in this sport right now. There's a lot of people that are waiting in the limbs to get into the UFC, and the UFC knows that there's a lot of guys that they have on roster, and it's there's always a lot at stake. When it comes financial and winning and losing fights. So for a fighter, you got to come out and you got to compete. You got to win.
Why is this the biggest though? Why is this bigger? Is it because you feel like you're fighting for your job? And if you can also answer, you recently pulled out of a fight. You've been somewhat inactive lately. What was bothering you? What was the injury that you suffered? I haven't been able to find out.
And I'm not telling you.
Okay.
No, when you train hard, injuries come, and as you creep up there in age, you have to adjust your training, and I felt that I was trying to train as hard as I was when I was 23, 24, 25 years old, so for me, I just had some little injuries in my hand, and just couldn't punch for a while. So but this is a big fight. Every fight in the UFC is a big fight. Whether it's your first fight or it's your last fight, they're all huge. And it's no longer you're fighting in front of a couple thousand people. You're fighting in front of millions in the whole world. So every fight's big, and this definitely is a big fight for me, and I'm looking forward to Saturday. I've trained hard, and I'm in great shape, and I'm super excited about it.
Your rivalry with Chris Lieben during that first season got a lot of people watching that ended up sticking around till the finale. What, looking back on it, made that such compelling TV with you and Bobby as well, the three of you?
Well, that TV show was pretty crazy, that's for sure. There's probably a lot of stuff that they could probably go back and edit and put in there and make a whole new TV show. There was a lot of craziness in that house, so it made for good TV. But at the end of the day, if you look at the fighters that came out of there, there's a lot of good fighters. We took a lot of heat in the beginning. Oh, these guys aren't fighters; they're just reality TV guys. And then 2 years later, you see guys went fighting for the title, and Stephen Barnes or Forrest Griffin was the champion. Kenny Florian's fought for the title 2 or 3 times. So you got to think about that as an aspect of these guys were fighters in that house, and I remember sitting in the Cox Pavilion watching Stefan and them go at it, you know, for a small arena, that place was like 18,000 people. People were stomping their feet the entire fight. It was electric in that thing, and that really turned the UFC to big mainstream. And you know, you saw like just this sport, you know, a switch. You know, now we're a little bit more mainstream, and people were coming up to you on the street. And I mean, that fight definitely changed things.
Sorry, I lost the mic. When was the first time that you knew that you were famous? When did you know that you were famous? That you were no longer, you know, Josh Koscheck?
I'm not famous.
But that first moment where, you know, someone where you might not have been recognized before, you know, in a store or just walking along the street.
You just got to understand the power of television, you know what I mean? That's what brings all you guys here. You know, you guys all are here because the fighters and the UFC's, you know, it's a media storm, you know. I mean, there's so much media and there's so much TV, and the sport has grown huge in the past, you know, 10 years since the Ultimate Fighter won. You know, this sport has changed big time, and you can see it from the fights all the way to the way the UFC manages it, how many shows they're putting on. I mean, this sport has come huge in the last, you know, 10 years, let alone, you know, over since the beginning whenever the first show was in Denver. You know, so it's amazing to see, you know, transition and how much better the fighters are becoming. Years before, you saw, you know, back in the day, it was wrestler versus striker, or striker versus, you know, grappler, or, you know, now it's mixed martial artists versus mixed martial artists. You know, I mean, look at this main event, for example. Johnny Hendricks isn't just a wrestler. You know, he's had several knockouts. George St. Pierre isn't just a kickboxer. He can take guys down, you know. So, you know, it's fighter versus fighter, mixed martial artist versus mixed martial artist, and that's the great thing about this sport.